And my name is Shelby Herring. I'm the owner of Copafina. I am the importer on the Hollow Leg wines, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Hollow Leg team, which is typically a trio. We do have one of the team members out with illness today, so the two is going to pull the weight of three, which I know they're fully capable of doing. And let me first start by introducing Jamie O'Toole.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Jamie O'Toole. I'm one of the three founders of Hollow Leg. My background is as a restaurateur in Dublin. I've been operating there for about 10 years. I'm a long-time customer of both Pablo's, buying us amazing full alcohol wines for a long time, and also I've been a long-time customer of Ronan, who is the third founder, who's a very large distributor within Ireland in the drinks trade. Also Ronan, who can't join us on the call today, so he's the second of the three founders. So he's about 20 years experience in the drinks industry in Ireland. I would say, irrevocably probably Ireland's most innovative drinks business, both across wine and other categories. He's also done a winemaking certificate in UC Davis, and he is a wine nerd in the way that I am not. And that's myself and Ronan, and I guess Pablo will introduce himself.
Pablo Martinez.
Hello, my name is Pablo. It's me. Yes, I am the winemaker of Monte. Our winery is belonging to the Rias Baixas appellation. We are in the northwest of Spain, just above Portugal. You have to excuse me because it is hard for me, but I will do my best. Well, I am here in this industry for passion because I study something totally different from wine. But here I found my place in the world. Here between vines, grapes, animals, machines. Here I am really, really happy. About our winery and our philosophy of work, we have some very strong principles because it's part of our history, and also because we believe it's the only possible way to live together with the rest of the nature. For the people who don't know me, for me, for us, of course, are really important the results, but also how you get it. And well, we started with this project like a challenge. We are really open. We are always trying new techniques, new vinifications, new treatments, because it's the only way that we have to develop our knowledge and also our wines, our quality. And also to have fun. I cannot imagine my life making all the years, all the vintages the same, year by year. It's not for me. When we taste our first NA, well, no alcoholic wine, I started to work with my father together, but at home, like a hobby. But suddenly, after 5 years of work, almost nothing, we discover. We discovered something incredible, because the elaboration process was 100% organic, and the result of the elaboration process also was amazing. And yes, it's true. We need a lot of time. We make a huge effort because we work during holidays, weekends, and we make a lot of proofs. We make a lot of mistakes. But finally, we have something really, really interesting. And look now, for me, it's a dream. I am here talking with you guys from almost all the states.
Great, thank you, Pablo. So I really can't imagine a better dream team coming together to put this project, to bring this project to life. A forward-thinking distributor, a successful restaurateur, and of course, a very talented winemaker, Pablo Martinez. I know he loves it when I call him out. So having introduced you, let's move and talk a little bit more about the products in the space. Why did you get into the non-alcoholic space? Jamie, you want to take that one?
Yeah, no problem. So I think, obviously, as Shelby's explained, Pablo, Ronan, and I come to this space as wine lovers, drinkers, buyers, with no real affiliation to non-alcoholic products. And really, when I started operating in the restaurant space, we saw the other categories within non-alcoholic take off, whether it was beers or spirits. And the quality of those products just really start to accelerate. And at the time I was buying, a lot of wine off Ronan. I didn't know Pablo at the time, but I was buying his really great full alcohol wines. And I kept saying to Ronan, as probably Ireland's most innovative distributor, you need to get me an amazing non-alcoholic wine. I need something that I can serve in the restaurants that I think is, comparable to the product that we're serving, something that tastes great, something that looks great, something that's contemporary. And I was kind of badgering him for about 3 or 4 years. And if there was anyone who was going to find somebody who was pushing the boundaries within the space, it was him. And he basically found me nothing. So it got to a point where it became sort of a joke that I would ask, and he would send me something. And ultimately anything we did try, so some of them tasted better, but probably didn't, in our opinion, mimic the wine experience enough. And those that maybe had a taste that we thought might be worth experimenting in the restaurants, they simply weren't gastronomic. They were just more often than not heavily laden with sugar to recreate some body, and that just kind of destroyed any pairings within the restaurant. So we really kind of put it aside, or I put it aside as an end consumer, despite the fact that there was this latent demand within the space. And then it was probably about 3 years ago, Ronan came back to me and he said, look, I have what you're looking for. I think, it's not finished, but it is, from my experience, a leap forward within the space. And in the way that Pablo works, it turned out that Pablo had obviously been working on this with his father in the background. And then, it kind of moved very quickly. Pablo sent samples over to myself and Ronan. We tried them. We were pretty blown away by what he'd managed to achieve. And, given the amount of testing and the amount of samples that we tried in the space, it kind of became very quickly apparent to Ronan and I that, this isn't a product for Ronan or a product for me. We really felt that this was a product that we wanted to help Pablo bring to a lot more people. And that was really the origin story. After that initial tasting, we really formed Hollow Leg within about a couple of months, and we just started iterating, sampling, and trying to find a way to bring it to market.
So to recap a little bit, Jamie, and push this conversation forward, you were seeing a lack of options that were gastronomic and that were cleanly made. And so enter Pablo and Hollow Leg. So tell us about the positioning of Hollow Leg and the elements or the philosophies that you are trying to achieve with this product.
Yeah, so that's right, Shelby. So I guess for us, as I said, we didn't feel that there was a product on the market that was complete. Some products had elements that we thought were interesting, but we didn't think there was a single product for us that was complete. And the things that were really red lines as wine lovers that we wanted to see in the product, and we think Hollow Leg really delivers, is, first it has to taste great. It has to mimic a good wine experience. There are obviously characteristics which aren't going to be 100%, but ultimately the benchmark for these products is, can I sit down and enjoy it in the same way that I would enjoy wine? And Pablo's process, I think, has enabled that for the first time. That was obviously, for us as wine drinkers, the number one thing. The second thing was, certainly it had to be gastronomic. Again, we want this to be a product that can be substituted for wine. And if it's not gastronomic, that experience for us had been very poor up to date, especially because of the large quantities of residual sugar. They were kind of the two most important things. And then beyond that, we really felt that, in a space which is being driven by, younger consumers, by substitutors, we just felt everything looked very stale, looked very tired. And, we felt that the space needed something which was dynamic, something which was contemporary, something which was fun, and also something which had, a really strong positive message. For us, drinking wine should be joyous. It should be a great experience. You should want to go and pick up the bottle. And every time we looked at what was out there, it was on the labels, know this, sans that, whatever take you want on, zero, or, and we just felt if it was going to really be a premium substitute and it was going to be something that a wine drinker would like, it had to look and feel great. It had to be something you would pick off the shelf and say, I think that sits on a wine shelf on its own and looks really nice. And then I think, as Pablo alluded to earlier, it's really our background was it had to be made the right way. I guess it's easy for us to say, but we didn't want to be using methods that weren't organic. Pablo's entire background is fourth generation, small vineyards, and it's ultimately the way he's made wine forever. But it was the only kind of wine we wanted to make. And I think for us, it's very easy to do that with Pablo, but it certainly isn't the industry standard. I think there's a lot of contentious things that goes into these wines. And for us, we're very proud. We should have the EU Bio certified early next week, and as far as I know, we're the only product on the market that'll have that. And I think tying into all this, and in some way for us, it was the least important thing. But for a lot of consumers, the most important thing is that it has to be good for you. I think ultimately a huge part of this space is not just situational drinkers, i.e. people who can't drink. There's so much substitution going on, and they are doing it for health reasons. But a lot of these products, yes, you're removing the alcohol, but then there's lots of chemicals, lots of residual sugar. So for us, it's almost a byproduct of Pablo's really innovative technique that we end up being pretty much the category leader from a health perspective as well. So I think all those things for us are just extremely compelling as a package when you compare them with what products are on the market, what potential demographics they can access, and it's really all made possible by Pablo and what he was doing long before I or Ronan were involved.
And I just want to jump in there here, Jamie, just to add one thing from my perspective as an importer and a distributor, is that the wines are priced really, really fairly to be able to be poured by the glass. And I don't see other competitors in this space executing on these points. We're talking about the wine is organic. We were talking about low sugar, low calorie, but also the price point makes this to where it can succeed in a gastronomic setting, where it can be poured by the glass, used in restaurants. And I think that that's an element that we're really excited about. I've talked to restaurateurs here in California and beyond, is the ability to be able to pour something that really delivers that wine experience without wine, particularly by the glass in that on-prem setting. Cool. So, why the name Hollow Leg? What does that mean?
So I'm not sure if people are familiar with it, but hollow leg's actually an old term for somebody who used to be able to drink a lot of alcohol, really put away their booze. And, we really like the idea of taking something that was associated with excess and just giving it a completely different context. With Hollow Leg, just given its profile, you can have a glass, you can have a bottle, you can have two bottles, and there's not going to be any side effects. And, we really liked that idea of taking something that was associated with excess, flipping it on its head. And that's where Hollow Leg came from. We've kind of learned through the process that, maybe 70% of people know what that term is, and the others just love the mystery behind it. So, I think those two things combined, we felt it was a good fit and something, completely different to what everyone else in the space was trying to do with sort of these attempts to communicate zero or no or without. And, for us, it just completely stands apart.
So we've got great tasting wine, organic, clean, great packaging. How do you do it? Pablo, how do you make this happen?
Well, I literally asked for help to Jamie and Ronan because I knew that I don't have more time. I have time to make new things, but not to develop a new project alone, like my winery. For the reason I have to say, hey, please, could you please help me with this? If you find something interesting, in my opinion, when you make something, it's better if you make things properly, not just making things. For the reason I asked to have some help here. And I asked, well, at first I didn't know Jamie, but I met Ronan some years ago, and I always thinking in Ronan because he's really open again. For example, I am from Spain, and here we are more like fans from the old world. Here the people are more conservative, talking about wine. the screw cap, for example, is not good here. All these kind of things, all these new things, here we are really close. I also try to open some doors here in Spain, but the result was nothing. And for this reason, I had to go to Ireland to try to make something real.
And I think what it seems like you guys have found is that Ireland has been a really incredible test market, and the reception and the feedback has been very successful. And I'm excited to get the wines here. And I know that people are going to ask me, you know, how do you make these wines? How do you make them non-alcoholic? How do you make them so clean? What's in it?
Well, for me, it's like in a regular winery. Yes, it's not easy because make wine is not easy, but it's very simple. Sometimes, if you work properly day by day on the vineyard, you have good grapes, and when you have a good grapes, it's more easy to work inside the winery because you don't have illness. The natural process go along. You only have to control, not you don't have to manipulate the natural process. And here is again the same. Of course, in my opinion, our secret is not the desalcoholize process. Other people can desalcoholize the wine like us, but we work with a really good natural ingredients, and with all these natural ingredients, we can have some extras to have aromas, natural aromas, and also to have extra to have flavors on your mouth. Which kind of ingredients? Well, all of them are natural, and all of them are from a regular winery. At some point in a regular, the leaves, all this part of the grapes are a residual. We use all these residuals. We work with all of them with natural ingredients to try to get some aromas and some flavors. And with these new extras, and we can rebuild the no-alcoholic wine. And that's
so
all.
You're saying that the only thing.
Yes, yes.
So
we only need 5 years.
So you're saying that the only thing that goes into the bottle are products from wine, but just without the alcohol. No additives, no chemicals, just sulfur, which is also a natural derivative. So everything in the bottle is natural.
Yes, everything is natural, and all the things that we put after we have the desalcoholized wine came from grapes, nothing more.
Well, it seems like we should taste these wines. Who's ready to join? Yeah. Okay, I don't know who's actually tasting versus just talking through, but let's go through and start with the still Albarino, Pablo. That would be the first one if you're joining us in the tasting.
Yes. Well, here in all of them, you have to think that you are going to drink something with less volume if you compare the no-alcoholic wine with a regular wine, because you don't have alcohol, and alcohol is the most important thing to have volume on mouth. But you can clearly identify the grapes. You are going to taste fruit, fresh, and something clear, with no strange flavors or something that they are not common in a regular wine. The only thing that you can taste a little bit less is the volume, and the reason is the alcohol. The rest of the things, for me, the most interesting thing is that you can identify the grape in the Albarino, in the still Albarino, and also in the Cabernet, in the red. And in talking about the Albarino, you have to think that you are in the northwest of Spain. Here, the weather is Atlantic.
He might be in the mountains now.
Also, we are really close to the sea, for the reason that helps with the fresh part. And also minerality, because our soil is very rich in granite. All these things with the fruits, the classic fruits from the Albarino, are together in this no-alcoholic wine.
So we've got great packaging. I personally really love the detail on the corks. I think that they're super cute. I think it really ties the thoughtfulness of the brand together. But I think it's not on this tech sheet, in the next rendition of this will include this, is that it's 6 calories a glass and 0.3 grams of sugar, which is apparently the equivalent of cucumber water. Is that what we landed this on?
It's actually less, but yeah, 0.3
less
is
than
the
cucumber
max.
water.
Yeah, obviously there's variability, but yes.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's great, especially the caloric level of that is amazing.
The way that one of the reasons why lots of reasons why we're really excited about this product, but I think the positioning is great because this can be for people that don't drink alcohol. This can be for someone who drinks alcohol but wants to have a gastronomic experience but maybe is cutting back. Or you have a glass of wine, you go to Hollow Leg, you come back. There's a lot of different ways to use it, but it is intended to replicate the wine experience. And I am personally very excited to have these in my fridge at all times now. Pablo, do you want to move on to the sparkling Albarino?
Yes. Well, for me,
Okay.
more or less, there is the only difference between the still and the sparkling is the quantity of CO2. But it's true that the CO2 helps us with the quality. For the reason, in this case, you are going to have a little bit more body and you have more expressivity on the wine, and the reason is the CO2. But the rest of the things are the same.
So I do have a couple of comments that I'll call out if you're looking at these bottles slight things that will change on the final bottle, on the final labeling. The first one is that it will say organic. How does this sort of organic wording work, Jamie?
It's called the EU Bio Certificate. So essentially, it's a process where they review the entire production from start to end, and it's called the EU Bio Certificate. But at that point, you can say made with organic ingredients.
That's the phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
made
number
with organic ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it on a number of regular alcohol wines. People kind of choose their own wording, but you have the same. It's a green leaf. You'll kind of see it on a lot of products, both food and beverages, but you won't see it on non-alcoholic wine products. I'm pretty sure of, except ours.
And we've been working on the compliance because this is not regulated by the TTB. But it is regulated by the FDA, which is why that word ingredients is used. The other thing is that in Europe, we can call it alcohol free, but in the US, since it has 0.5, it does have 0.5% of alcohol. It is dealcoholized, but not to 100%, which is, I think, is that less than kombucha, or around the same as kombucha?
Yeah, so you'll see a lot. I mean, most people wouldn't be aware, but probably 90% of your non-alcoholic wines have up to 0.5%. So your Heineken's as well, like all the big products would. And that's largely because they are dealcoholized products as opposed to products that start with water and just, make something which is supposed to mimic an experience. It's almost pointless to take a full alcohol and dealcoholize it back to zero. So if you're taking an alcohol product, you're going to have residuals. The distinguish in Europe, 0.5 and below is the same as zero in terms of wording on a label. But as Shelby pointed out, in the States, alcohol free must be at zero, and then between 0 and 0.5, it's non-alcoholic.
Yeah. So that will be one small change. And then can you also talk about the sulfite disclosure? We're going to change, instead of it saying E22.
Yeah, it's just going to say sulfur dioxide on the label as opposed to E224. In Europe, it's whatever you choose. It can be an E number or it can be the actual wording, whereas in the States, it's the actual wording is important. So it is just going to say preservative sulfur dioxide on the label.
So grapes and sulfur.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and we'll also have the EU standard for recycling as well. There's it's called the green dot. That'll also be on the revised label. We've just received our application for that because of what we're doing at the facility.
Great.
Quick question, if I may interject here.
Yeah.
How many,
Jump
do you know how many parts per million you have approximately as far as sulfur goes?
Yeah.
I don't, but Pablo might.
Yeah, the free SO2 is 14, 10, 12, 16. It's low.
Oh, that's it? Parts per million?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's super low. Okay, cool.
Milligrams per liter. I don't know about parts per million, about how the
Oh, okay,
conversion
milligrams
rates out,
per
but
liter.
milligrams
Okay,
per liter.
milligrams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think
mean,
under 90, I think is for organic certification.
Right.
so
Very
interestingly, and apologies,
Thank
I might get the exact technical specification incorrect, but Ronan, who is a wine major, what we found is because of Pablo's process, it's far more stabilized than a traditional non-alcoholic product. Whatever residuals are in the lees and the extract. So, I think there's much less need for a high level. But Ronan could probably articulate that a lot better than I can.
But so there is added sulfur, but it is very low, lower than most
Correct.
wines.
That's all I need to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah, you got it, Phil. All right, sparkling rosé.
Well, the sparkling rosé is almost 100% Albarino. We just use the Cabernet to have the color, but it's true that here you cannot identify clearly the Albarino because the Cabernet have a strong personality, and then it's not easy to know which varieties are inside the bottle. But in my opinion, it's something really interesting.
It's incredible how such a small percentage of Cabernet can really just completely change the aromatics, the body, the style. So even though the two wines are Albarino driven, they're totally different, and I would call for different pairing situations or different,
Maybe it's only 1% Cabernet.
And tell us about where the Cabernet is coming from. You told us the Albarino is coming from Rias Baixas. Where's the Cab coming from?
Yeah, Cabernet is from Rioja. It's from a winery from a very good friend of mine. And the reason to use this variety is one, because I know the people who grow the grapes. I know the people who work with the grapes inside the winery. Also because, in Rioja, you have more degrees than in Rias Baixas. We are talking about 14, 15 degrees. But again, it's a very good time. He makes the harvest before to have less alcohol on the wine. And also because the grapes are amazing.
Great.
I have a question.
And you will see. Oh, please.
How do you make it sparkling? If it's not, CO2 is usually a byproduct of alcohol. So where does it come from?
It's we inject CO2.
And you'll notice on the region says on the label does say Galicia, because that's where the winery is located, and there are no appellations of origin for non-alcoholic wines in Spain. So since the winery is in Galicia, that's why all of the wines are labeled as Galicia.
Yes, and also because we make the no-alcoholic wine in Galicia.
Okay, last but not least, we have the still Cabernet. And I've heard Ronan say this is the one he's the most proud of. Red still has been a challenge, right?
Yes, the reason is because it's not easy, the red. In my opinion, it was the most important challenge here. Because most of the reds has a lot of mouth, a lot of power in mouth, and most of the wines that we taste was really, really slim. Really, really slim. In fact, you are going to taste something that is from Rioja. Grapes are from Rioja. But in my opinion, when you taste it, it's like a red wine from Galicia. Because it's something fresh with fruit and almost no oak. It's our style of wine, not from Rioja.
And I love that. Even though the grapes are from Rioja, the style is very, very Galicia. And with that, we've talked about this as a chillable red, as a lighter red, and that seems to be very well received in this category. Great. Anybody have any other comments on the wines or questions in general?
All right, I gotta ask, how do you remove the alcohol from the wine, or is that proprietary?
I don't know the name of the technique in English. It's like, can you help me here, James?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think look, it's more Ronan and Pablo's domain, but from a linguistic perspective, probably easier for me. It's low temperature evaporation, which is pretty common. So I think within the space, the actual method of dealcoholization, what we found is it doesn't really lead to a very distinguishable product. It's what you do after that, which is very proprietary, in terms of rebuilding the aromas, the structure, the mouthfeel. But no, the temperature, the low temperature evaporation is not proprietary. It's on the tech sheets, and it's pretty common. And again, for us,
Elvi, sorry, Jamie. The other day, Heather.
Yeah.
Write you the name of the technique. I don't remember the name in English.
Yeah, it's a low temperature vacuum is the way that Ronan described it. She had asked about if it was a spinning cone, which I think is another way is basically
Centrifuge. Yeah.
Yeah, centrifuge is how other wineries do it. But the process of removing the alcohol, as Jamie said, is not that exciting. It's how you then rebuild the product to make it taste great is the secret.
I think the best way to describe it is, when we lined up products of the same grade with different methods, we couldn't tell the difference. And I think a lot of people will use the initial technique as some sort of marketing trick or, each to their own. But ultimately, when you're tasting the final product, the differentiation really lies in, your starting grape and then how you rebuild it from that point. And what Pablo does to rebuild is entirely different to the rest of the market. And, that's really, while he's happy to disclose sort of bits of it, obviously, in terms of the total process to create that extraction or that extract, that's obviously proprietary.
Well, I think all of these are amazingly delicious. I mean, Lauren, you were completely spot on when you told me about these a few weeks ago, that how delicious they are. And they're all, I mean, the fact that they're made from wine grapes and they have this quality and the length. I love the finish on all of them. It sticks with you, and it really lingers in a very, very nice way. And I think that's key. It doesn't get astringent, doesn't get bitter, it doesn't get weird in the finish. And that's huge. And these are all amazing. So kudos to you guys for creating this. And Pablo, it's nice to see you, Ben. And Malachi's here. He says hi too. So I don't know if you see him, but anyway, but thank you. These are phenomenal.
Good, Bill. I'm so happy to hear it. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
I'll just say
one more quick thing. Sorry, Lauren. Yeah. One thing I just noticed on the Cabernet label, though, it doesn't say Cabernet Sauvignon. It just says Cabernet. Is there a reason for that, or is that just?
No, good question. Possibly just that's a very good question. I think
oversight. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we're reprinting, so we can do Cabernet Sauvignon for the States, no problem. It's probably always just Cabernet domestically in Ireland. So
I see. Okay.
The US is our first export market. Well, we're obviously exporting from Spain to Ireland, but yeah, it's if Cabernet Sauvignon is necessary in the States, then that makes no difference to us.
I don't know.
Yeah,
what
about it. So oversight / colloquial, possibly.
Sure. No, it's something that popped out at me. That's all. But no worries.
Great, Lauren. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I am very much enjoying these wines. Shelby and I had been doing a long process of tasting other products so we could kind of get our heads wrapped around the category of alcohol-free wines. And the first time I tried Pablo's, I was absolutely shocked at I could actually tell what varietals they were. I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually Albarino. This smells like Cab. It's great. So my kudos to you, Pablo. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, And feel free to jump in if there is. Jamie or Pablo, is there anything that you want to add in wrap up here before we let these kind of
No, I
people
don't
get on
think
their
so.
way?
I would say, we obviously have a lot of, product tested in Ireland, and for us it was always a good bellwether, for larger markets, and the reception has been incredible, both from a kind of authoritative figures, whether they be critics or sommeliers, down to the end customer. And I think to get that spectrum of confirmation has been great. And where we are, in stock, we went from 0 to, in some cases, 90% of total NA wine sales with, quite a limited amount of marketing spend. I think it just speaks to what we thought, that people were looking for something which was differentiated in the space, but then when they drank it, actually was supported by, it felt like that wine experience, and beneath the surface there wasn't anything hiding in plain sight. And yeah, so we're very happy to, if there's any specific questions going forward, to answer them ad hoc. So we're available to support, to help. I'm sure stuff will come up in a day or 2 days or a week. So anytime we're available.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Pablo. I know you're on
Sorry,
your way
I have
out
a
of town.
question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, please.
Hi, I am
Hi.
Mariana. I would like to know a little more about the process of how he make it. I know he's playing, but I am a sommelier, so I'm really picky to know how he make it. It could be great if you have a video or something. I speak Spanish, so if is there some way we can see how is this process. I am with the clients in the street, so I am going to the restaurant, speaking with the sommeliers, and I know they want to know, okay, how this is made. So for me, it's going to be easy because I would love to travel to Galicia. I cannot at this moment, maybe sometime. But if in some way we can have a video to see how it's, I understand he puts a lot of ingredients later to reveal the wine. So is that made by maceration, or is something you add? Is like, it would be great to see how he do it.
Do you want to take that, Pablo?
Yes, I can send you some information and some pictures, some videos, no problem. But I cannot tell you the secret.
No. No, and you can do it in Spanish if you want.
I think Pablo actually broke up, at one of the critical points. So, our entire process really revolves around taking residuals from the original fermentation. So, these are natural residuals, lees, elements of the grapes that are left after that original fermentation. And then Pablo is taking these and making an extract from these natural byproducts. So, and that's really the key element, whereas Pablo's using this natural element. You have that on one side, and the other wines on the other side are using things like sugar and peach juice. And I mean, I don't know what a lot of the things are in them are, because I don't recognize them, but your main components are usually a juice, like, some of the peach flavor, it's almost, or, kind of chemicals or flavorings. So that's really the distinguishing part is, Pablo's extract and, coming from that original fermentation, and then, whatever else people use to try and create an experience, whether it be peach juice or, flavorings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. This was tasting like wine, so I appreciate it. It was a great experience.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, just in terms of next steps, we are looking to get these wines here as soon as possible. So I'm asking for everybody to get me their pre-orders. The sooner the better, but by Wednesday for sure. Would love to have wines here in California for you to pick up by the end of August, but we have to really move to do that. So as soon as I can get things, by next week I should have a more firm ETA about what we're looking like for that, but hoping very end of August or very early beginning of September, I want you guys to have these wines for O&D. The pre-sale pricing is applicable to full pallets per SKU. And how I envision this is that we'll bring in this first container, everybody will take what they want, it'll essentially sell out, and then we'll start to have regular replen and stock it for you to pull whatever you want. But imagine that there's going to be this first wave, And then, so get what you want early is what I'm telling you, because it might not be available until regularly stocked until Q1. And if you have any questions about any of that, all the pricing was in my email. But if you have any questions about any of that, please let me know. I know we're all excited to get this going. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelby and Lauren and Pablo
Yeah,
and Jamie.
of course.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for the information, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Pablo, good to see you.
Mhm.
Hi again.
Hello again.
Bye.
All right, you guys have a great day. Catch you later.